And with that, we welcome you into another edition of Monday Night Quarterback here at Applebee's. Matt Morrow along with Christian O'Hara, and we are pleased to welcome in, of course, the head coach of the Fordham football squad, Joe Moorhead. Coach, it's good to have you back again.
Gentlemen, great to be back. Always a pleasure.
So it's obviously a bit of more of a pleasure to have you here after a nice win. So opening up the Patriot League with a 35-7 victory over Lafayette on Saturday. So now we have you on here, on Monday to take a look back at it. Let's just look at the start of this game.
You really want to?
Play number one.
That's great.
It didn't work out exactly the way you wanted it. The trickery on the kickoff. Drew said that was a design play. What was the thinking going into play number one?
You know, Coach Slusky's our special teams coordinator, and he came to me during the week and said that Lafayette was a extremely aggressive kickoff unit in terms of their pursuit and coverage, and their backside guys folded in there when they kick it into one of the corners, and felt that we would have an opportunity for a throwback to take advantage of that pursuit. And obviously it didn't work out. So we've taken a lot of gambles on trick plays over the years, and a lot of them worked out. And sometimes you take a gamble and you hit the jackpot, and sometimes you roll craps, and we rolled craps this time. So it's not going to prevent us from being aggressive in the future. But this is unfortunately a time where it was quite an auspicious beginning to the game.
Now, Coach, in terms of the timing of the play, was that something you guys said, look, we're definitely
first kickoff? Yes.
First kickoff.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So even with that play, and then things got a little slow to start, and at halftime you said to Drew Casey, hey, we just didn't have it to start this game off. Were you a little bit worried in the first few minutes of this game that things were getting so crazy? It was a bit of a sloppy game. There were a lot of plays that aren't usual plays to start a football game, that the momentum of your team wasn't exactly where you wanted to be to start this game?
I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as worried, but you give up the early touchdown off the special teams miscue, and they're moving the ball a little bit, and we're having trouble getting our footing. They were doing a decent job mixing their looks ups, and we didn't, we weren't really, executing at a normal clip offensively. So I knew eventually we were going to get the ship right and get it pointed in the right direction. We just needed something to stop the slide and get us backed out from being backed out in the quarter into the middle of the ring and give us a puncher's chance, and it turned out being the blocked field goal.
Now, in terms of the momentum, it looked like as Matt had said that Lafayette got off to a good start, obviously aided by the trick play that didn't work out. The blocked field goal, they had a chance to go up 10-0. We didn't actually get a great vantage point as to who blocked it, or did you guys see on film who actually blocked the kick?
Hodge.
Yeah. Okay, another senior leader play. Can you just describe how that play kind of shifted the momentum on the sideline?
Oh, I mean, it was an incredible shift. As it, the game's plays it, you're going from down 10-0 to an opportunity to tie the game at 7 and change the momentum. So when they broke through there, and it was just a block right or a block left call, the guys just did a good job getting the point, and Stephen did it was quite an athletic play, just hurling over there and getting the block and getting it down there, to the 6. It absolutely swung the pendulum back in our direction.
There wasn't just that first block field goal in this game. You guys actually blocked 2 of them. Let's take a listen quick at those 2.
It'll be a 35-yard try. Bissell's 3 for 5 on the year, the freshman. The snap is good. The hold is good, and it's blocked. That one's blocked, and plenty of room to go. Fordham can pick this one up. It's picked up at the 50, to the 40, to the 30, the 25, the 20, to the 10. Fordham going down to the 5-yard line. George Dawson makes a huge play, and momentum completely shifts 180 degrees. 21-7 Fordham lead with 2 seconds left. Here's Bissell. It's blocked again. Fordham's going to recover. Can they return it? No, they're brought down at the 30. Blocked again. J.Q. Bowers recovers it. That's how we end the second quarter of play.
So you talked a little bit about the momentum of that first one there, and I want to ask again about the timing of the 2 of those, because the first one, not only does it stop them from going up 10-0, but then you're able to capitalize on the short field, the touchdown throw to Odom. But then that second one was at the end of that first half, and they had started out with some of that momentum. How important was it not just to get that first block, but then capitalize on block number 1, and then finish off that first half with the stamp of on the second block kick and just totally taking momentum into halftime?
No, it was great, and offensively it seemed to energize us, and we got the ball rolling, got up to 21-7. And, they did have a nice little, 2-minute drive there at the end of the half. And as you talk about taking the momentum from them and putting it to our side. I think them getting a field goal there, getting it to 21-10, and then receiving the second half kickoff with an opportunity to draw within one score, keeping it a 2-touchdown game there, and letting us go into the half up 21-7. I think that was huge for us.
And, something we noted on the broadcast was Drew Reed was visibly upset with it, his offensive lineman coming off the sideline. He was heated. But more complete effort, it seems, this time around, especially on defense, compared to the Monmouth game. What were the guys thinking during the week? And, I'm sure you challenged them to give more of an effort, more of a championship effort this week.
Yeah, I think, you look at the Monmouth game, and, from a yards perspective and turnovers perspective, we did a good job, but, we gave up, more points than we'd like to give up. And I just think the thing that Coach Hooley and Coach Carey talked about was we wanted to, keep them under 100 yards rushing. We wanted to force 4 turnovers, and we wanted to pressure the quarterback and get off the field on third down. And, when you do and limit explosive plays, and we were successful on all those counts, and, it allowed us to, and it wasn't a shutout, but, I mean, if we don't put the defense in that hole, I think they would have had a good opportunity to notch a shutout. So the defense played fantastic.
The defense did their jobs. The offense obviously did as well, in particular Chase Edmonds, 234 yards, a new career high after 231 last year against Rhode Island, and especially in the second half. I mean, he ends up with over 30 carries for the game. At what point do you stop being surprised about what he's capable of?
I've been ceased to be amazed since our early last season, and like I said to one of the reporters who covers Lafayette after the game, that his football ability is superseded only by his character and his work ethic, and everything that he's gotten, he's worked for. And he's a guy that remains humble, remains hungry, and he did a fantastic job. And obviously, we'll give credit to the guys up front, the tight ends, who did a great job blocking for him. But the sky's the limit. He continues to improve every game, and chases his own toughest critic. So we're expecting to continue to see him to build on these performances.
It seems like he shoulders a lot of the workload, too. You guys, Robbie was out, Ben Johnson was out, and yet Chase goes out there and continues to put up these obscene numbers. Does he put extra pressure on himself to do that, or is it just something that comes naturally to him with his work ethic?
I wouldn't say any extra pressure necessary, because he has such a high standard and high expectation. But, our offense's ability to be successful is dictated, with how we're able to run the ball.
Right.
And if we're able to run the ball successfully and force people to commit numbers to the box, or kind of, pressure us to stop the run, it gives us, good matchups on the outside, one-on-ones, or some coverage things that we're able to exploit. So it all starts with our ability to run the ball.
We obviously need to take a look at what's coming up next with you, the UPenn matchup next week. But before we finish up, a look back at the Lafayette game. Christian mentioned it there, a lot of injuries for this team coming in, and Robbie isn't able to go, so your top 2 upperclassmen receivers coming in were injured. Garrick was, iffy all week if he's going to be able to go. He's able to get in a bit into the game. Guys on defense, Caleb Ham banged up. George Dawson has to go out twice. How impressed were you that the team was still able to give such a good effort with so many question marks of guys not being able to go, will they be able to go, and during the game, guys having to sit during times?
That's part of our program's philosophy. We say, so what? We're not a program that makes excuses. Winners make commitments, losers make excuses. And, our philosophy of next man in, that if someone goes down, the person that replaces them is going to do as good or better of a job. And we played the game with, 4 true freshman receivers. Lorenzo went down, Dylan Mabin went in, true freshman. George Dawson went down, Noah Fitzgerald goes in, true freshman, gets an interception. So, I mean, it speaks to the culture of our program. I mean, there's people that look for excuses, and there's people who disavow excuses. And, we're not going to be someone who, we're going to look for a reason, not an excuse. And I think it was a tremendous credit to our kids that we didn't flinch, and whoever went in the game was expected to compete at a championship level. And, for the most part, that occurred.
That's Fordham football head coach Joe Moorhead taking a look back at the Lafayette matchup, a 35-7 victory for the Rams. Now it's time to take a look at the X's and O's with running backs coach Shane Fogarty of the Fordham football team. Coach Fogarty, it's a pleasure to have you on Monday Night Quarterback for the first time.
Yeah, great to be here.
Got to start off with Chase Edmonds. I mean, a career high for him, 234. It seems impossible to top what he did last year, but he's on pace to have another unbelievably outstanding season. This is your first year as the running backs coach at Fordham, correct?
Yes,
so,
sir.
I mean, when you come in and you have a guy, Chase Edmonds, as your lead back, How happy are you to come in and have that job as running backs coach at Fordham?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's always good to coach to coach great players, and I've been lucky in my career to have a few. I was here before and coached Dan Light and Patrick Murray and Adam Malkowitz and those guys, and had a great position group. And I think this position group is the same here. I mean, they showed up and they're very conscious of what they need to do to get better, and they work extremely hard, and it's a great room to be in.
Coach, obviously, you mentioned that you were here at Fordham previously talking about Dan Light, Patrick Murray. What attributes did those guys show that Chase also emulates? And obviously those guys have gone on to have successful, at least starts to their NFL career.
I would categorize them as all tough individuals. I think they had their focus, they have their goals, and they worked extremely hard to get to be successful. And I see the drive. I mean, Patrick was a very, very driven individual, and he did everything that he needed to do in the classroom, in the weight room, off the field, on the field, which made him very successful. And it was the same with Dan, and I see those same type of qualities in what Chase does, and Kendall as well.
Chase is certainly tough in the way he runs the football. He had a 67-yard touchdown run in this game. He also had a 1-yard touchdown run down at the goal line. Let's take a quick listen to that play.
Right back to Edmonds, and he goes right in for the score. Chase Edmonds will get a well-deserved rest as he did all the work on that drive.
So Chase gets the 1-yard score, but he had basically gotten the ball on every play leading up to that, going right up the middle, play after play on that draw, just going straight through the line. He's a guy that's got such great speed and athleticism, but another thing that impresses you, how tough he runs, not just using that speed, trying to get her outside. He'll run through the tackles as well.
It definitely is, and I think a lot of credit goes to the offensive line and the tight ends and the receivers for really digging in there and our quarterback getting the right play, getting on the ball and tempoing them, and I believe he had every yard. He had 39 straight yards on that, in that series there. And really, our guys up front, we recognized the fact that they weren't able to get lined up and didn't know their calls, and we were able to line up and follow the blocks, and he does. He works and pushes and drives for those extra yards, but, so do the other 6 guys that are in front of him, setting up those blocks.
Now, Coach, obviously, we mentioned Chase, Kendall Piercy, obviously another talented back. How does having those guys, and, we mentioned on the broadcast that Kendall could probably start at most teams in the Patriot League. How does having those talented guys make your job easier, and does that change the way you coach at all?
I think, I choose to focus on the off-the-field things as well. I don't ever say anything to Chase about cuts or, reads or things like that and let him react. We work a lot on our weaknesses to develop those things into strength. And I think that, when you look at it, they do a great job in practice with their preparation, watching film. And it's good to have 1 back, 2 back, 3, so that we can continue on. And the expectation here at Fordham is next guy in mentality. And so they know that. They understand it. They help each other throughout the week. They prepare each other. And really, as a coach, it makes my job easy because I'm focusing on the small, intricate details rather than having to focus on every single thing. They know where to line up. They know how to execute. Now I'm coaching sort of their upper level mentality and leadership and team things rather than focusing on footwork and those type of things.
You mentioned that you focus on some of the off-the-field stuff. In terms of Kendall specifically, you mentioned he's such a talented guy that could garner more touches if, frankly, he wasn't behind an all-FCS player like Chase Edmonds. But he seems, and what you hear about him is that he's a guy that not only does he never sulk that he's not getting carries, he is a positive, productive member of the team in terms of a leadership fashion. What's the relationship like with him and Chase and really him and the rest of the team? How is he looked at by the rest of the guys?
He's definitely looked at as a vocal leader of this football program and this team. And it's because of the fact that he shows up every day. It's because of the fact that, really, he's made an impact on special teams this year. He really has. He's one of our leaders in points on the special teams units. He's filled in, and I believe he's on 3 different units, and he does a great job each week, and he gets a lot of reps in practice. And the thing is, he goes into a game, and what happens? They hand the ball to him, and he scores from 16 yards out. Now, not only was there good blocking, but he ran 2 guys over and then got into the end zone. So, he gets those opportunities, and honestly, he could be in there a lot more.
Right.
And the expectation from our run game and our pass protection and pass routes doesn't change. It doesn't change.
Coach Moorhead was saying a lot of the offense is predicated on the ability to run the football well. I'm sure that's got to make you happy as a coach when you see your guys go out there. Obviously Chase running for 234 yards, but a guy like Kendall, coming in and next man up, that philosophy, next man up. How did their preparation help them to adapt that to that team philosophy?
Well, I think it starts with the head coach. It starts with the program, and as you can see throughout this year, I mean, we've had guys go down and guys fill right in, and it doesn't matter if you're an underclassman or a senior. It doesn't matter what position you play, offense, defense, side of the ball. But everything in our system, every coach does the same thing. They prepare everybody in their room for getting out on the field and executing. So I think that starts with the top. It starts with Coach Moorhead and continues on through the coordinators and into each assistant coach's mind that, he's got to do his job in preparing everybody in that room. And like I said, the 2 guys, 3 guys, all of them, they're focused, they're locked in, and they've got their goals set. So that's what they know, that the practice is just as important as the games.
You've recently also been named the recruiting coordinator for the squad. How does that affect your role with the coaching staff? How does that change what you have to do?
For us, I think we rely a lot on each individual coach doing their job and recruiting great players. It's not only about the fit, our fit for them athletically and academically, but also, what type of program they're looking for. And we challenge kids. I mean, we want kids to want to be here. And we focus and set our sights on very, very top prospects and just continue to work and provide, because first and foremost, the student athletes. Right. You want to come to Fordham, and we find those kids that want to come to Fordham and give them a reason to say, okay, I can go there and get a great education, get a great degree, and like Coach says, walk across the steps with a diploma in one hand and 4 rings on the other. That's the expectation, and we explain that to them when they come in, and really, with a school and a program and a location, we sell ourselves, and that's about it.
Right.
Everything else does the rest.
Let's take a look at the X's and O's with running backs coach and recruiting coordinator Shane Fogerty for the Fordham football team. Coach, thanks for joining us.
All right. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Now it's time to go inside the huddle with a couple of the key players from Fordham's 35-7 victory over Lafayette this weekend. We're joined by running back Chase Edmonds and defensive back Lourenzo Smith. Guys, thanks for joining us on Monday Night Quarterback.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so Chase, got to start with you because you had quite a day, and you're used to having pretty good days, I'm sure, but 234 yards, a new career high for you, besting last year's 231 by 3 yards. You were having a good first half, and you were getting the ball, but did you expect to get the ball as much as you did in the second half? Because you ended up with over 30 carries in this game.
Right. It's just kind of the way the game played out, and, we usually have a game plan of trying to have a balanced attack of, running the ball efficiently and then passing the ball efficiently as well. It just turned out that I ended up getting that many carries once we were running the clock out in the late second half.
Chase, coming into a game, are you prepared to get a certain amount of carries, or is that something that kind of just, like you said, is dictated with the flow of the game?
Yeah, it's completely dictated with the flow of the game. If the passing attack is struggling or we're just showing that we can dominate the run game, I'm pretty sure Coach Moorhead is just going to keep calling run plays. We just go with the flow of the game, really.
There was one drive where he had, I think, literally almost every yard on the series. Yeah, he ran the ball in from 1 yard out.
Right, and that's just it goes back to what the coaches coach is about tempo, and you really see how on the film that they were so worn out they didn't even want to line up when we were calling plays. So it really does help.
You had not just the 1 yard touchdown run, but also a 67-yard touchdown run in this game. Let's take a listen to that one real quick.
Anderson's in the gun on 1st and 20. Edmonds on his left hip. Ball at the right hash. Snap. Given straight up the middle to Edmonds. He's going to bounce it outside. Go up the right numbers. He could have some room to the 40, to the 30, the 20, the 15, 10, 5. And he's in for the end zone for the score. Chase Edmonds.
So that came on what should have been. There was the last play of the first quarter, and then you guys had a penalty, and it was the last play, and then you had another penalty, and then that play. Well, that was a pretty crazy sequence. But how do you kind of keep your mindset of all right, we're supposed to be switching sides, the quarter's supposed to be over, all right, we got another play, and you had to do that a couple of times. How do you keep that same mentality of, all right, just keeps going, doesn't matter what's on the clock, doesn't matter, just got to keep going, and then you end up ripping a big run like that?
Yeah, I just had it in my head that, wow, this could be definitely an opportunity for some momentum. We kind of lost it because, we were in our 1st and 20, I believe, after we called ourselves 2 penalties. And, it's just you got to keep playing the game, and you got to control the controllable and just do what you can to help the team win.
So, Lorenzo, obviously, you had a good game as well with that interception. Take us through what was going through your mind on that play. Was that a result of film preparation, or was that just instinct, what you saw, the look they gave you?
I saw the set, and I knew it would probably be verticals. And we were in cover 3 at the time, so I looked up, got wide-eyed, I saw the interception. So it was a great play.
Nice. I believe we have that, too.
Yeah, let's take a quick
Lorenzo's,
listen to that call of Lorenzo's interception in the set game on Saturday.
This is an option, but now they'll throw. Looking down Mrazek, and it's going to be picked off at the 5-yard line. Fordham with the interception. It's Lourenzo Smith who picks it off.
So, Lorenzo, obviously you mentioned, just what happened. You guys were in cover 3. They ran a vertical set play. That's obviously a result of kind of Coach Moorhead saying, preparation leads to success. Can you just describe kind of the mentality that goes into each week of preparation, preparing for the games, next man up, that mentality?
Next man up mentality. Coach always preaches it, so if the guy goes down, the next guy goes in and does a better job or just as good as he does. And our practice, defensive coaching are on our tails.
Right.
Every snap, run on the field, do this, and then it happens.
Right,
and then
yeah.
you see it happen in the game, and everything correlates, like Coach Moorhead always says.
The championship mindset.
Championship mindset, what you do on the practice field always equates itself to the game field.
Right.
I'd love to throw this next one at both of you because to get an offensive and defensive perspective of what was going on. To start this game, there was the trick play that doesn't work, and then really the only time that you guys got beat, you can't even really say that. They have a 10-yard drive in one play. When you're set up there, it's hard to stop that. But, so they start off with the lead. First, chunk of that first quarter, it seemed like they had all the momentum. What was that like on both sides of the ball that coming into the game, you guys were behind the 8 ball early but knew there was still so much time to turn things around?
Well, for me, the turning point was just, I'm pretty sure Lafayette was up 7-0, and the offense had stalled out about 2 drives. And they're driving down. They're about in the fringe zone, so it's about like the 25-yard line. And, I just yelled to the defense, come on, we need to play, D, we need to play. And, they did a great job of blocking the field goal, ended up returning it about to the 10-yard line, and then that just kind of got the whole momentum started with the game. And, football is just so unique because it's such a team sport. You can have one game where maybe the offense has to bail the defense out or vice versa. And it's just that I think we do a great job of controlling the storm and weathering the storm. So, we're never too high, we're never too low. And we do a great job of just adjusting and knowing that it's a 4-quarter game and a lot can happen. It's going to be a lot of momentum changes.
Yeah, defensive perspective, Coach Julio always preaches stop the slide, stop the slide. So if offense is doing bad or we're doing bad, one side has to help each other out. And block the field goal, George returns it, almost scores, and we're like, it's a new ball game, so we got to play.
For you, Lorenzo, you are really one of the truest upperclassmen on this team. You and Steven on that defense, both grad students, so you've been here 5 years, and that's a very unique quality to have on this team. A lot of underclassmen. Chase, the sophomore, is almost pretty much an upperclassman at this point compared to so many freshmen. But for you specifically, there's a new defensive backfield. You're a part of it, and you've been through so much success at this school now. How have you seen the transition of Fordham football in your time here, and how does this season stack up to seasons prior?
Being here for a while just lets you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. So freshman year we came in, it was a tough season. Sophomore year we rebuilded. Junior year I was like, wow, it's going to peak soon. And then Coach Moorhead just kept bringing great recruits like Chase in this class. Then this year's class, true freshmen are balling. So it just shows to see what recruiting can do. So there's only the mountains and the peaks for this team.
Right.
So.
Now, Chase, you obviously played in the offense under Mike Niebrick. Now, Kevin Anderson, obviously a guy who didn't have a lot of experience in terms of being a starter coming in. How has that transition gone for you in terms of communication? What do you see at Kevin in his progression?
Oh, so, it's a great transition into this offense with him. Just being so close to Kevin last year, and he's my roommate this year. It's just we communicate very well on the field. You can just see it on the football field, on the film. Always pointing out who we think is coming, and we study together. And he's progressed so fast, and I knew he would have the success that he's having. Right. Kevin, he has such a strong arm. He's very mobile, so he gives defenses problems with their film, trying to study us. And I think that we're only going to get better because, our offense is so young. So I feel like we're gelling at the right time, but it's really important that we just keep progressing up as the game goes on.
Scary thought they're going to get better.
Your running backs coach, Coach Fogerty, mentioned that Kendall is a vocal leader on this team, and he's a guy with plenty of talent who has never, at least to the outside eye, ever, seemed to not, be happy with his role behind you. You're obviously the true number one guy, but when he goes in there, he does not just a good job, but a very good job. His first run of the game was a 16-yard touchdown, both on and off the field. What is your relationship like? What is his influence on you like, and just his influence on the team as a leader?
Yeah, Kendall's my brother, too. We have a real funny relationship, and he does a great job of vocally leading the team. He makes sure that during practice, everybody's just staying focused. Everybody's, knowing the task at hand. That we have to just keep getting better. And he does a great job accepting his role because, honestly, he could start at any other Patriot League team in this conference, to be honest. And it's just that, when I first got here, he really opened his arms up to me, just, teaching me the playbook and teaching me how to read lanes better, just reading the zone footwork and all that. And it's so great to, have a great teammate like that where you could consider him your brother on and off the field. So he really is a great guy.
Now, Lorenzo, for you specifically, Matt had mentioned you're a senior. Do you take that, title lightly, or do you need to do you need to talk to the guys and say, hey, guys, look up to me. I've been through the lows. I've been through the highs. And, or are you that type of leader, or are you more of a lead-by-example kind of leader?
In between. At times I can be vocal, and at times I can just try to show that hard work pays off. So when the young guys are having a tough time, just go over it, give them an earful, bring it together.
Right.
So, yeah,
it helps. In between, yeah.
So for both of you guys, before we let you get out of here, you were both part of the first Patriot League title since Fordham has been eligible again, since the scholarships have come in. You win the league a year ago. Now you've gone through one game in this Patriot League trying to defend that title. You're 1-0 after the win against Lafayette. What's the message been like? What has the word been around the team in terms of defending that title? Does it have to be said, or is it more of an unspoken thing that that's obviously one of the big goals this year with a target on your back?
In my perspective, Coach Moorhead does a great job by, he's the head coach, so he's going to make sure it's being said. He's going to make sure the guys are hearing it. But I think that as a team, although we're very young, we're very mature, and we do realize it doesn't have to be said. It doesn't have to be said that we have to take it a day at a time. We know the championship standard. We know that we're trying to become elite, and we're trying to become one of the best teams in this country. So, it goes without saying that, we're taking a game at a time. We're not going to underestimate and underassume, and get upset by one of these teams. We're going to take it a day at a time, get to this conference championship, and take care of business.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because coming in, we were young guys, and we were truly young guys. But the younger class I see now, they mature quickly.
Right.
So it's not even that Coach Moore has to preach it. It's
just a culture.
It's just a culture.
Right.
So.
Awesome, guys. Running back Chase Edmonds, defensive back Lourenzo Smith, joining us here on Inside the Huddle in Monday Night Quarterback. Guys, so glad you could join us. Thanks.
Appreciate it for having us.
Thank you. See you guys.
Appreciate it.
And now we will take a look at what's coming up next for the Rams. Bring Coach Moorhead back in for this. And so you guys head to UPenn next week for the final non-conference matchup of the season. What is that like, having gone through the Patriot League, at least for one game now? You've had these non-conference games, but you've had this Patriot League opener. This is what you stress on and on and on through the offseason, through the non-conference. It's about the Patriot League. But now you have to step back out of it again and play another out-of-conference opponent. What is that mentality like?
There's a quote from Gene Stallings that said, "There's no such thing as an important game until you lose one, or unimportant game." And to us, it doesn't matter who. It's what we talk to our guys about, competing against a standard. And if you're competing, one at a time at a championship standard, and your level of preparation, effort, or execution, doesn't rise or fall to the level of your opponent, then you shouldn't have to worry if it's conference, non-conference, home, away, FBS, FCS, Division III, Division II. None of that stuff should matter. You go out and prepare, and certainly there's plenty of motivation for us to play this game because it's our next game.
Coach, you talk about preparing for a championship standard. I want to focus a little bit more on your preparation specifically for UPenn. What unique challenges do they, bring to the table? Obviously, a team that's beaten Villanova, a very good football team, but goes out and loses to Dartmouth by almost 20 points. What unique challenges do they present?
When you look at them defensively, Bob Benson's their defensive coordinator, was actually the head coach at Georgetown, and I worked for him as an assistant. They're a multiple defense. They have some senior guys on the back end, but you look at their defensive front, I think it's their most impressive, 93. I don't know names at this point. He's a senior interior defensive lineman from Stepinac. He's a tremendous player, big, strong kid, athletic, gets a good push. Number 49 is another guy that shows up a lot on tape. And 21, defensive back, the corner, does a tremendous job. So they're multiple. They give you different fronts, different coverages, and very aggressive, disciplined unit. Offensively, The quarterback's a tremendous player, Alex Torgerson. Trey Solomon's a running back from here in the city, from Zavarian. He got hurt in our game last year, but by all accounts, he's been healthy and playing well. And the receiver, Justin Watson's a kid from Pittsburgh, out of Lafayette High School, a kid that we recruited and had 2 touchdowns against Villanova, 6'3", 200-pound kid, who reminds you a lot, if you remember, the Mark Ross kid from Lafayette from a few years ago, kind of in that line, but I think a little bit more athletic. So they'll, certainly, when they beat Villanova and the things they've been able to do in their other games, they certainly, present a tremendous challenge for us.
One of the things that you had spoken about early in the season is that with so many new faces, so many freshmen, and even sophomores who have to step into new roles this season, but more specifically for the freshmen coming in, getting on the road and getting into that rhythm that they haven't been able to do yet until they step onto a college campus and go to away games, go to road games as a college team. That was something that was going to be just as important as adjusting to college football. Now that you've had 2 road games under your belt, you're 2-0 in those. This is the first back-to-back road game of the schedule. How do you feel the team has progressed, specifically underclassmen, in terms of getting used to going on the road for tough games?
No, I think very well. I think they transitioned well into our culture and into the weekly preparation aspect of college football. Like you said, 18 new starters this year and 9 guys who had never played in a college game before, and a lot of them in primary roles for us. And, the message to those guys is you're not freshmen anymore. This is week 6, and you guys have gone through it. You know what it takes to be successful from a preparation and a performance standpoint. So, to us, we don't have freshmen anymore. They're freshmen in name only. And, we need these guys to perform like veterans. And I think incrementally, specifically the true freshman guys, I think you see them guys getting, a little bit better each week.
Coach, you talk about freshman, guy who hasn't had, obviously, a lot of experience before this year as a starter, Kevin Anderson. Can you describe what you see out of him this year and his progression through the season so far?
No, he's done a fantastic job. Tremendous in his preparation and his film study and his commitment to learning the details of the position. Great leader, elected captain by his teammates, and a guy who can lead by example and vocally as well, and a guy who's performed at a very high level for a guy who hasn't thrown a pass in a game in over 3 years. So in a lot of ways, it's like Chase, a guy that's blessed with a lot of ability and backs it up with how hard he works. And, he's very smart, very cerebral, and he's performed at a winning level for us so far this season.
Last thing before we let you get out of here, you've now gone 1-0 in the Patriot League so far. You're stepping out of non-conference again for the final time this season, but speaking with you before the game this week, you said it's not about being picked number 1, it's not about defending the title, it's about going up against our own expectations. Heading into this Penn game with these games under your belt, this first month of the season gone, how do you feel your team has done so far in going up against your own expectations?
Very well, because we've only lost 1 game, and the expectation level is to win every game. And it all goes back to, like I said, to the culture of our program and the kids understanding that, talk about the price of greatness is responsibility, and each kid is responsible, to prepare themselves at a level that our culture dictates. And, and for outsiders or people who, you replace 18 starters and have 9 first-time players, you think maybe there'd be a lot of a learning curve and some growing pains, and there have been.
Right.
They just haven't been incredibly discernible. But I couldn't be more proud of this team for the way, not only the way they've reacted to the loss of production and understanding what we would need to do to overcome that, but by being, myopic with their singleness of purpose and, knowing the things it takes to be successful on a weekly basis.
That's Fordham football head coach Joe Moorhead showing us what's coming up next for the team. The team takes on UPenn next weekend at UPenn at 1 o'clock. Coach, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Thanks,
Always
Coach. Appreciate
great
it.
to be here.
Thanks. With that, let's get into some final comments and final thoughts here. Matt Morrow, Christian O'Hara wrapping things up on Monday Night Quarterback here from Applebee's. All right, Christian, we were at the Patriot League opening win against Lafayette on Saturday. The next matchup is with UPenn. And the one thing I want to, ask you about, we talked a little bit with Coach Moorhead.
Right.
You've had that one Patriot League game. Obviously, the thought is to defend the Patriot League title. But now you got to step out of conference for that last non-conference game. Is there going to be any toughness in adjusting to that this is a game where it's not for the conference title, but you got to keep playing up to those expectations?
I think the guys will realize that, but I'm not sure it'll change any of their preparation. Like you heard Coach Moorhead and Chase and Lorenzo mention, they have a culture there that it's next man up, 1 game at a time. It doesn't matter who you're playing, doesn't matter who you're lined up against. And I don't necessarily think that, okay, we got a Patriot League win now, let's just sit back. I don't think that mindset will creep in. The coaching staff will be on the players this week to prepare like any other opponent is in their way, Patriot League or not. And this is a team that, as we mentioned, had beaten Villanova, a team that Fordham unfortunately lost to by a touchdown. So they will be focused and they'll be ready to play out in Philadelphia.
Fordham moving to 1-0 in the Patriot League and 4-1 on the season with the 35-7 victory over Lafayette on Saturday. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Monday Night Quarterback. Thanks to head coach Joe Moorhead, running backs coach Shane Fogerty, running back Chase Edmonds, and defensive back Lourenzo Smith. Next Monday is another edition of Monday Night Quarterback, live right here from Applebee's. A look back at the University of Pennsylvania game. We'll follow up with a look ahead to the matchup with Holy Cross the week after. We'll have our X's and O's segment with one of the coaches and go inside the huddle with some of the key players from the Fordham UPenn game. Don't forget to tune in to WFUV's coverage of Fordham football as the Rams take on the University of Pennsylvania this Saturday. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. with a one-on-one pregame report live at 12:50 on 90.7 FM, WFUV.org, and WFUVSports.org. Until then, for Christian O'Hara, producer Brendan Bowers, and engineer Sean Hayner, this is Matt Morrow. Have a great evening, everybody. Monday Night Quarterback is a presentation of WFUV Sports.